Not every fire begins with a flame. Sometimes it starts with a girl and a basket of pepper. Her name was Nneka, known across the land as the Pepper Girl. In the heart of a struggling village where truth was buried and power was feared, Nneka's voice burned brighter than her peppers. Mocked, overworked, and unseen, she had nothing until a single act of kindness planted a seed that changed everything. This is the story of how one girl rose from dust to destiny, from pepper to power. The legend begins. In the small village of Umuoko, Nneka was known by all, not for riches or beauty, but for her fire. At just 16, she ruled her spot in the village market, selling the hottest red peppers anyone had ever tasted. She carried them each morning in a wide woven basket, her steps firm, her eyes sharp. Her peppers were so spicy they made grown men cry, and her voice was just as sharp. People called her Pepper Girl, not only because of what she sold, but because she didn't fear anybody. If you tried to cheat her, she would clap back with words that burned harder than her pepper stew. I may be poor, she would say, but I'm not foolish. Her boldness made her stand out, like a flame in the dark. But life at home was no fire. It was cold and bitter. Nneka lived with her stepmother, Madam Oyugo, a woman with eyes like dry ground and a heart to match. Madam Oyugo made her work from dawn to night, scrubbing floors, pounding yam until her arms ached, and sweeping the compound with a broken broom. Nneka ate last and slept on a thin mat by the smoky kitchen fire. She had no fine clothes, no sweet words, and no one to call her my child with love. Her only comfort was her pepper, the red fire she carried with pride. Yet, even as life pressed her like a mortar pounding yam, Nneka never lost her spirit. Deep inside, a voice told her, "You were made for more." But she didn't know how or when. All she knew was that the fire inside her burned brighter than the one in her stepmother's kitchen. One hot afternoon, after a long day of selling pepper, Nneka was walking home, with her basket nearly empty and her feet dragging in the dust. The sun had started to set, casting gold on the village paths. As she neared a small forest road, she saw an old woman struggling to carry a heavy bundle of firewood. Her back was bent and her legs shook like plantain leaves in the wind. Many villagers passed her, pretending not to see, but Nneka stopped. Without a word, she dropped her basket and helped the woman lift the firewood onto her own young back. The old woman looked at her, with eyes that glowed like stars under her wrinkles. "You have fire in your heart, child," she said softly. "And now I will give you fire for your future." The woman reached into her wrapper and pulled out a small red seed, glowing faintly like an ember. "Plant this when the moon is full," she whispered, "but be warned, do not let greed guide you." Nneka took the seed carefully, unsure if the woman was joking or magical. But when she turned to ask more, the old woman was gone, disappeared, like smoke in the wind. That night, as the moon shone like a silver plate in the sky, Nneka tiptoed to the backyard and planted the glowing seed behind the pawpaw tree. She covered it with soil, whispered a prayer, and went to sleep with a strange hope in her chest. The next morning, the backyard had changed. A tall, glowing pepper tree stood where she had planted the seed, taller than the house, its leaves red and green, and its fruits big and shining like fire drops. Nneka's heart raced. Something powerful had just entered her life. Nneka plucked one of the fiery fruits from the tall pepper tree and examined it. It looked like any other pepper. Red, shiny, firm, but it felt warm in her palm. Curious, she added it to the stew her stepmother had asked her to prepare. Madame Ojugo took one spoon and immediately her eyes widened. Her face twisted and her mouth opened, not in pain from the heat, but in uncontrollable truth. "I stole your money last market day," she blurted out. "I burned your only wrapper and blamed the rats. I told the village women lies about you." Nneka gasped. The pepper had made her speak the truth without control. She quickly gave some to a neighbor who often spread rumors. The woman confessed everything. Word began to spread fast across Umuoko. Soon, villagers were lining up outside Madame Ojugo's compound to taste the mysterious truth pepper. People confessed to stealing yams, cheating in trade, lying about love. Thieves cried and begged. Chiefs who took bribes in secret were exposed. Even the village priest admitted that he had eaten goat meat during a festival. The truth, like fire, burned through the village, but it also brought cleansing. Nneka, once the poor pepper girl nobody respected, now held a power no one had ever seen. She became a symbol of justice. People began calling her Nneka the Fire Voice. Even the king, a proud man in golden robes, heard about the pepper that forced truth out of liars. And one morning, with guards behind him, he rode into Umuoko, his eyes filled with curiosity and caution. He wanted to see the pepper girl for himself. The king sat on a carved wooden stool in the village square, surrounded by guards and chiefs. Nneka, in her old wrapper, stood in front of him, holding one glowing red pepper. "Is it true?" he asked. "Can this pepper make a man speak his truth?" Without waiting, he took a bite, and the magic worked immediately. He stood up and confessed, "I taxed the people more than needed. I ignored the cries of the poor. I feared losing power, so I kept wise voices out of the palace." Gasps filled the air. The king's face was red, but there was relief in his eyes. The pepper had made him free. He looked at Nneka and said, "You are no longer just a market girl. You carry fire that can cleanse our land." Right there, in front of everyone, the king gave Nneka a golden staff shaped like a long pepper. "From this day, you are the Truthkeeper of Umuoko," he declared. "No judgment will be made in my palace unless Nneka has spoken." A new hut was built for her near the palace, painted in bright reds and oranges like the pepper she carried. Her name spread far and wide. People came from other villages to see her, to confess, to be healed by truth. Nneka remained humble, still walking barefoot, still helping the poor, still remembering the firewood woman who changed her life. But one thing was clear. She had risen from the pain of her past into a power no one could deny. From the market to the throne, the pepper girl now held the hearts of the people. Now living near the palace, Nneka did not forget where she came from. She returned to the market often, giving out free paupers to women who struggled like she once did. She built a new home for orphans and started a farm where anyone could work and earn a living. She even forgave her stepmother, though Madame Ojugo now bowed whenever she saw her. Nneka knew that a pepper was not just for truth. It was a reminder that the small can become mighty. She still remembered the old woman with the firewood and searched for her often, but no one had seen her again. Some said she was a spirit. Others believed she was a forgotten goddess of justice. But deep inside, Nneka believed the woman had come because the world needed her. And now, Nneka had become the fire that would keep burning. At festival, the village children sang songs about the pepper girl who became the truth keeper. From pepper to power, from fire to throne, they chanted. And in the sky, whenever the moon was full, Nneka would sit under the glowing pepper tree, still strong, still tall, and whisper thanks to the wind. Her life had changed, not because she chased power, but because she chose kindness. One small act of helping someone became the seed for something magical. And so, her story was told again and again across villages, from fireside to fireside, reminding everyone, even the smallest seed, if planted with love, can grow into something that feeds the whole world.